The Battle of Megiddo took place in the 15th century BC, or in ancient Egyptian records, on the 21st day of the first month of the third season, year 23 of the reign of Thutmose III, or approximately the 16th of April 1457 BC. The history of the first human war that occurred in Megiddo became the history of the first war that was documented in the history of war in the world. Many war and military history buffs know about tens of thousands of wars and battles. However, few can mention the history of the first documented human wars. This battle took place between the Egyptian troops under the command of Pharaoh Thutmose III and the rebel coalition forces of the vassal states of Canaan led by the king of Kadesh. This battle is the first battle recorded in detail, both the number of troops who participated in the war, the strength of the combat fleet, the death toll, the wounded, and the prisoners. Megiddo also recorded the first battle in which his soldiers used composite bows as well as chariots. The chariot is described as still having 4 fingers and looking fragile. Despite this, the Egyptian army is described as being able to use it effectively. All details of the battle are from Egyptian sources, most notably the hieroglyphic inscriptions in the history hall of the Temple of Amun-Re in Karnak by the military scribe Janini. The war began with the death of Pharaoh Hatshepsut, who had to give his throne to the young Thutmose III. Pharaoh Thutmose III, who was considered young, was used as an opportunity by the Canaanites to escape from Egyptian rule under the king of Pharaoh Thutmose III. Pharaoh Thutmose III, who was still considered young at that time, allowed the Egyptian empire to be controlled by his mother, but he could not be considered an ordinary young man, before he had been in the army for many years. Starting from the Canaanites who fled to the city of Megiddo, and the Egyptian soldiers then began to strategize to pursue him. In his pursuit, Egypt mobilized 10,000–20,000 soldiers, with the help of 1,000 horse-drawn carriages. As for the Canaanite army, it is estimated that it had an army of 10,000–15,000 men, and nearly 1,000 chariots. Pharaoh Thutmose III realized that the route to downtown Megiddo via Aruna was so dangerous that no commander would dare to cross the gorge and risk his troops. Pharaoh Thutmose III also reasoned that the rebels would leave him unprotected because they did not expect such a dangerous road from Egypt. Pharaoh Thutmose III is the type of commander who is not afraid of the risk if what is produced is greater than what is sacrificed. So Pharaoh Thutmose III took the risk, and as he expected, the path was unguarded and the Egyptians arrived in Megiddo city earlier than expected. The sudden appearance of Pharaoh Thutmose III took the Canaanite troops by surprise, making the Canaanite coalition troops go out of control and panic. The Egyptian troops carried out a sudden attack and carried out a siege of Megiddo city for 7 months by making trenches and walls around the fortified city so that the troops and residents of the city were confined. Until finally in the war the Egyptian troops won the decisive battle, and gained Egyptian hegemony in the region for centuries. In that battle, Egypt was able to crush the Canaanite rebellion, but the king of Kadesh managed to escape. As a result of this battle, the victor brought home 340 prisoners, 2,041 mares, 191 foals, 6 stallions, 924 chariots, 200 armor, 502 bows, 1,929 cows, 22,500 sheep, and royal armor, chariots and tent poles from the king. Megiddo. But the city and civilians survived.